world. Welcome to the 34th Climate Change Emergency Awareness Rally in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, home of the noisy motorcycles and trucks and SUVs of the world. So I try to be kind and walk away when the cars get too loud, but it's kind of difficult since this town does not bypass the automobiles. Everything runs downtown. It's kind of a horrible situation for the townspeople. So this is the 34th rally, and then also tonight in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA, is a rally for immigrants, or migrants, whatever it is, coming across the border in the United States, down to Texas and whatnot. A lot of them are coming from Central America, and that is a result of not only civil unrest, but also unrest because they can't feed their kids. They're in a serious drought situation, and a lot of them are starving. So, of course, any parent would take your kids out and try to live a better life elsewhere. But our wonderful, not our wonderful president, the president of the United States has chosen to treat them like animals and cage them up and do basically crimes against humanity with that situation. But that's a separate issue, but it is related to climate change, a lot of it. So the second biggest issue right now going on is in Amazon, and it's hard to separate out what's the big issue and what's the biggest issue. And so, in my mind, the second biggest issue is Amazon right now. Bolsonaro, or whatever his stupid-ass name is cutting down now instead of one football field of trees as they were doing per minute in the Amazon, and now they're cutting down, I think it's 3 football fields a minute. So what it is the Amazon is the lungs of the earth, and we can't continue on this way. What will eventually happen is the rain system, the rainforest will totally change. It will lose its capacity to be a rainforest, and it'll just become a weather, just like anywhere else. And that'll profoundly affect Brazil and also the soy growing that they're trying to promote in the rainforest. So they're feeding themselves by cutting down the rainforest. Now, the biggest issue in my mind is the Arctic. What you're having is massive Arctic melt. Right now, the Arctic is at its lowest point ever as far as in the history of humanity, and I guess it's the last 200,000 or 800,000 years, whatever. Basically, it's a slushy situation where most of the ice is 1.5 feet or less, and to most people it doesn't mean anything, but it is a huge issue in that with 1.5 feet of ice, you're getting less albedo effect, meaning that the reflectivity of the sun does not occur. So what that results in is a feedback loop where it gets hotter and then less albedo, hotter, less albedo, and you get the idea behind that. But that's just half of it. So it gets hotter up there, but also what happens is that there's more methane in the area, and that tends to escape as the water is warm. And methane is up to 150 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than is CO2. And it'll take immediate effect on our world as far as heating up the world. So the delay might be 6 months. But we're in big trouble as far as Arctic goes, and my shirt says Save the Arctic. And that is the fact about the whole thing. Basically, human civilization is in trouble once the Arctic goes. And it will be going. And we need to take immediate action. I know these Republicans won't acknowledge it at all as far as climate change, but the Democrats are bad too, because they keep saying we have 10 years to get off coal, or 10 years or 20 years to get off this or that. And that's not the case at all. We don't have any time, so immediate action is required. Every minute delay takes you a minute or 10 minutes to get back. So we're just going and going and going. I've been doing 34 of these, and I see no action happening at all anywhere. So, in fact, Trump has instilled many policies that are destructive to the world and to the United States itself as well. We've been lucky so far. We've been dodging bullets. Houston 2 years ago had 50 inches of rain because there is no jet stream anymore due to the Arctic sea ice loss. And so these systems just sit there and spin for hours and days on end. So instead of being an ordinary rainstorm, it becomes a huge event. So it's a really big problem as far as loss of the Arctic sea ice. Also, you're having huge Siberian fires, and it's some crazy amount, I don't know what it is, but basically it comes down 15,000 square miles, which comes down to 125 miles by 125 miles of fires going on in Siberia. So these are not only forest fires, they're also peat fires. And peat fires put off a huge amount of carbon dioxide, as do the forest fires. But peat fires are really bad. They can burn for years. And now they've kind of called in the Siberian army or the Russian army to try to squelch the fire. It's not going to happen. It's out of control. And it is a direct result of climate change and drought. So things like that are going to keep spiraling, and that puts more CO2 in the air, and it creates more heat. And it's a whole system failure right now going on. There is no good news happening right now. We can do a couple wind turbines and whatever else and solar panels, but without governments getting on board, it is not going to happen, and we are basically on the road to extinction. And it could happen in 3 years, 6 years, 20 years, I don't know, but it's coming. And I really, really, really implore you to get out and start doing something. And right now, I'm out here by myself. I put it out on Facebook all the time. My wife will be here in a few minutes, and then that's it. People don't give a shit, and they will start giving a shit when we start dying, or their family starts dying. And by then, it's way too late. You might as well be in a survival situation, lock and load. So right now, there's enough heat going into the environment. There's equal to 4 Hiroshima atomic bombs per second. Okay, boom, 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 boom. That's how much heat is going into the oceans right now. The jet stream is shredded, as you can tell right now in the trees. There's no wind or anything except when a storm system comes through. The ocean currents are slowing down, and what that'll result in is massive heat buildup on the east coast of the United States as well as the Gulf of Mexico. So the potential for a gigantic hurricane goes up big time, as well as sea level rise around the coastal areas. Also, with the loss of glacier ice in Antarctica and also in Greenland, what will happen is that, hi Wilma, Wilma's here. Hey Wilma. So with the loss of glacier ice, you get a giant unweighting of mass, and it goes from the land to the ocean, and it's a transference of weight. And what happens as a result of that as well, and this is a theory out there, is that it causes more earthquakes and eventually plate tectonic shifts. So it's a huge situation going on. Now, if the oceans weren't here, they're absorbing 93% of all the heat we're putting out as far as CO2 and the resulting greenhouse gases. So what happens is the ocean's taking in 93% of all the heat generated by that, and if they weren't here, the Earth would be 97 degrees warmer, which is uninhabitable. So right now you have reefs that are dying because of all the heat, and it is also acid, but the main loss is with the heat. Reefs cannot survive above a certain temperature, and that's just what it is. Also pteropods, which are the tiny little shell creatures, with the acid increase caused by CO2. That's unbelievable. With the acid increase due to CO2 leaching into the ocean system, you get carbonic acid, which eats away at the pteropod shells, which are the basis of all life in the ocean. Let's see, last month was the hottest ever, or this month I guess. Paris had 112 degrees in July, sorry. Australia over the winter had 122 degrees, London had 100 degrees plus, Netherlands had 100 degrees plus. So things are spiraling out of control there. You had floods in the Midwest recently, which jeopardized many farmers, and I imagine a lot went out of business. This loss of sea ice in the Arctic represents 25% of all CO2 put out in the last 25 years. So that's how much of an increase this loss of sea ice will eventually happen when we have blue ocean event. The resulting effect is basically the same as putting 25% more CO2 into the atmosphere. So we can't wait for 2020 election. We can't wait for the 2021 supposed president to come in, because it'll be gridlock as usual. It becomes a political issue. Individuals need to start taking action, which forces a politician to take action. And this is not a Democratic issue. This is not a Republican issue. This is a survival issue. Not just survival of humanity, but survival of all life on Earth. So we're definitely going into an extinction event the way we're headed. So you need to change course, need to get at it. It's a question whether we can save ourselves or just mitigate the catastrophe at hand. So next week is the climate change rally here at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania Square. That'll be number 35, and that'll be my wife's here, Tony's here, say hello. And so that'll be 11 o'clock on next Friday. So hopefully someone will turn out other than just the three of us. but at least there's 3 of us that actually care about what's happening. College kids, high school kids, you're dropping the ball. You're on the internet enough to know better, and you should be doing research as far as your future and what's happening. And this idea of sitting back and doing nothing doesn't cut it. No more excuses for yourselves. You need to get out. You know, kids in Vietnam, during Vietnam, got out in masses and protested. So retirees, you have no excuses as well. You need to get out here. You know, if you have to work a job, try to take off around now or whenever, and create your own protest or come out here and be with us. But you need to start doing things, and right now you got to quit being chicken shit, because yeah, it's uncomfortable and people yell at you and whatever else, but eventually they'll figure it out too. So hope to see someone out here next Friday, August, whatever it is, the 9th or the 11th, and that'll be 11 o'clock on the square in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. See you later.